Beyblade's been around for 25 years, and in that time we've seen hundreds of releases across 4 distinct generations. But we've also seen beys not get released like they're supposed to, or get straight up cancelled. So in this video, we're gonna go back through Beyblade's 25-year history and look at the infamous cancelled Beyblades. The plastic generation ran from around 1999 to 2005. With the series launching pre-social media for the most part, a lot of exact information has been lost to time. However, we do have some examples of unreleased and cancelled Beyblades. While there are definitely differences between some of the Hasbro and Takara Tomy releases, for example, the Hasbro version of Zeus has an engine gear while the Takara Tomy one doesn't, this video isn't really about those sort of changes. If it was, the burst section of this video would take hours. While I am going to be talking about some of the changes if it's relevant, for the most part, I'm skipping over it. We do have some unreleased Beyblades though. The final releases of the generation were those from HMS. HMS, or the Hard Metal System, was a late series revision that was almost a completely different lineup entirely. New beys, new launchers, new everything. These beys are also now super rare and really sought after by hardcore collectors, with some of them being priced at over $1,000.
I declare bankruptcy!
Some of the rarest in the line, like Arrow Knight, Dragoon MF, and Shining God MS, are especially hard to come by, due to the fact that they never got Hasbro versions. Why? We're not really sure. It could be that HMS at the time wasn't super popular, or maybe that Beyblade fatigue after years of releases was setting in. At the end of the day, these HMS releases are some of the very first examples of unreleased Beyblades, as Hasbro never brought them over. Now you may be thinking, this video is about cancelled Beyblades, not unreleased Beyblades. And you'd kind of be right. So let's go ahead and look at Beyblade's first ever cancelled series with Beyblade Insect. This video is all about cancelled and unreleased Beyblades, but sponsor of the channel, Mall of Toys, has a bunch of Beyblades that actually came out, like Dran Buster, Hell's Hammer, and they even have some upcoming ones like Cobalt Dragoon and Black Shells up for pre-order. So definitely go and check out Mall of Toys, links in the description down below, and make sure to use code ilinnuc to get 5% off of your purchase. Not much is known about this bug-themed line of Beyblades, as it's almost lost media at this point, besides a couple of super low-quality pictures. It's also kind of unknown whether this line was supposed to come before or after the HMS beys. My money would be on before, because they seem much more similar to the standard plastic gen releases we had known for a while, before HMS's entire system revision. There were 3 Beyblades revealed at the time, with Rhinoceros Beetle, Hercules Beetle, and Stag Beetle. It's unknown why Beyblade Insect was cancelled, but it's hard to see it doing very well because of the whole bug theme. The Beyblade wiki mentions this line was based on a popular regional game of insect fighting, which to my dumb Western brain, I couldn't really understand. After doing some Googling, I learned that this game is popular in many countries like China and Japan in certain regions, and that for hundreds of years people would place wagers on certain bugs and whatnot. That's an entirely different subject beyond the scope of this video, but you can maybe see why Beyblade Insect wouldn't have been a massive hit, considering bug fighting culture really doesn't exist in many other areas of the world. I just don't think bug-themed beys would have been a big hit here in the United States. We now move on to the second generation of Beyblade with Metal Fight Beyblade. MFB started in Japan in 2008 and ended with Hasbro's plethora of unfortunate spin-offs after ZeroG in 2014, but we'll get to that. Once again, I'm not going to be going over all the Hasbro revisions, but I do have to mention Season 3, or Metal Fury. This is where we really started to see Hasbro gut the lineup of their gimmicks that we got with Takara Tomy's 4D line. Look at Hasbro's Cosmic Pegasus versus Takara Tomy's Big Bang Pegasus, and you'll immediately see some major changes. I bring these changes up because while Hasbro did eventually bring these gimmicks back with the Hyperblades line and with Beyblade Legends, not every Takara Tomy Bey got a fixed Hasbro release. The first one that comes to mind is Duo Uranus. This Bey got a cheap Spark Effects release, but never got truly brought over with all the gimmicks intact, and because of that, it's one of the more expensive Beys to get. Other examples would be El Drago Guardian, Beat Link's Fusion Hades, and there's probably more out there. But those were the semi-unreleased Beys. But now let's move on to the cancelled MFB releases. For this, we have to go to MFB's final season with ZeroG or Shogun Steel. This series probably deserves its own video, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see. But we had a brand new main character with Zyro, and while we did see characters from the main trilogy of seasons come back, they took a backseat to the newer people. This season was immediately unpopular. Could have been the new characters, it could have been the new Synchrome system, or the rocking stadium. It could also have just been franchise fatigue, like with what we saw in HMS during the Plastic Gen. However, unlike the Plastic Generation, Takara Tomy did not finish out the series. The episode count was already cut down from a little over 50 to just 26, and the series was so unpopular that the final 7 episodes did not release normally in Japan. They instead dropped as OVA episodes on DVD. Since the Beyblade anime kind of serves as an ad for the Spin Tops themselves, some Beys introduced in these episodes also never saw a release. Some of these include the Drigger-inspired Berserker Byakko, the Hindu-themed Guardian Garudas random booster, and the final villain Beyblade Phantom Fenrir, which was a spiritual successor to Doji's Dark Wolf from Season 1. We also know that a Level Up custom set and a digital power launcher were in the lineup, but those were cancelled as well, and we don't really know much about them. I was not personally a ZeroG enjoyer, but this was also when I thought I was too cool for Beyblade, which not really the smartest 13-year-old thought. But this series was not that popular, and while some of the designs are really cool, this is the only example of a Beyblade series being cancelled while it was still airing. There was also those unfortunate Hasbro spin-offs like Bay Warrior Cyborg, and oh boy. I made a full video going over Bay Warrior Cyborg and the other MFB spin-offs as well that you can check out if you want, but Cyborg was definitely more Hot Wheels than Beyblade, and I don't even think it released here in the US. It did air half of its episodes in Italy, and the entire run released on Toonami Asia later on. It was also supposed to have a toy line, but I assume that was scrapped super early on. Now we continue into the third generation of Beyblade with Beyblade Burst. Beyblade Burst started in 2015 and ended in 2023. This may be the generation where most of you guys got introduced to the series. This is the generation where I really grew my channel, and I have fond memories over the years. That doesn't mean it was perfect. The changes from Takara Tomy to Hasbro are endless. With metal, gimmicks, and details being removed, so much was changed. Overall though, this series had a pretty clean release, with a beginning and an end. Nothing was cancelled midway through like MFB, but there were some oddities. First off, the final season of Burst, Beyblade Burst Quad Strike, never actually aired in Japan and was kind of a Hasbro only sort of thing. I don't know if you want to classify that as unreleased or cancelled, but there it is. There was also a full wave of Hasbro Beys that had images and listings, but never got released. Some of these were Plastic Gen remakes like Drigger Fang and Wolborg, and even an MFB remake with Pegasus. Although we never got images for the Pegasus, only a listing, so maybe there was a mistake. We also had pictures for Spiral Treptune and Balar B4. These Beys did get releases at other times, but these recolors just never saw the light of day. I really have no idea why we got full-on pictures of these things, but they never came out. Maybe Hasbro thought they were just gonna sit on a shelf and not sell? No idea. Hasbro also never brought over the final release of Beyblade Burst in general, with Barricade Lucifer. This Bey was pretty cool with its kind of pink tongue gimmick, etc. Very gimmicky, but it never appeared in the Beyblade anime, so I guess Hasbro thought they didn't need to bring it over, and instead started focusing on the next and current generation of Beyblade, Beyblade X. Beyblade X began in July of 2023, and as of this video, it is currently airing and has releases monthly. Since this generation is rather new, there aren't that many examples of canceled or unreleased beys, except one. At the very beginning of the series, Takara Tomy made it very clear that Beyblade X was the culmination of every single Beyblade series. With Beyblade's impending 25th anniversary in 2024, they also launched the Crossover Project. The Crossover Project was the initiative to remake old generation of Beyblades in the new X system, and the first release was Dronzer S. They also let fans decide on which beys they wanted to see in this Crossover Project by putting it to a vote, which may have been a mistake. The first place winner from the Plastic Gen remake vote was the infamous Tripio. Yes, Tripio. This had to have been a meme in Japan or something, but Tripio is most well known for its gigantic attack ring, and this was obviously going to be a major hurdle for Takara Tomy, as it just would not work with the extreme gimmick of the new system. Eventually though, we did get design updates and even a prototype next to a prototype of the Drigger remake. However, Takara Tomy ended up scrapping the bey completely, citing its design as the main reason. They attempted to shrink it down to make it work, but at that point, it really wasn't Tripio anymore. This marked the first and currently only canceled bey in the X generation. Despite the success of Beyblade throughout its now 25 years of history, it is not impervious to fails and cancellations. From canceled beys to canceled seasons, that was the history of the infamous canceled Beyblades.